Welcome back to the Growth Stories podcast, where we talk about building real revenue, strong relationships, and sustainable growth in business. I'm Josh Jackson, and through Red Letter AI, I help leaders build high tech, high touch systems that remove friction, protect relationships, and create consistency because growth isn't luck, it's structured the right way. Today's guest is Tenby Dahman, a seasoned mortgage professional who has built her reputation on clarity, consistency, and doing business the right way. What I respect most about Tenby is that she doesn't just focus on the transactions, she focuses on ownership, relationship, and long-term trust. She understands that real growth comes from structure, discipline, and serving people at a high level. Tenby, I'm glad you have you here on the podcast with me today.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah, so let's dive right in. And I want you to tell me what's on your mind and what is one of the biggest headaches or challenges you see facing the mortgage industry today.
Gosh, it's a great question. I think we are always challenged by constantly moving markets. So we are constantly trying to work within not only the market, but then what is going on for the client, what are they are working on, as far as inventory and interest rates and those things that we have to ebb and flow with as mortgage professionals and real estate professionals. So we are constantly trying to, and this is in my business where I've really tried to set up, you mentioned the word systems. I don't like to see people as clients in a system. I like to see that as, just to give you a little bit of background on me, I come from a world of, I health-wise I'm a breast cancer survivor. Going into that experience, I really felt like 80% of, or I should say that I somewhat felt like a number, and it really transformed how I run my business. I've been doing this for 27 years. So I have
Hmm.
been flowed, with technology and things along the way as far as how I help clients. But when I thought through that, I really figured out that 80% of what the doctors do in that situation when they're helping you with your health is pretty standard. It's pretty standard protocol. Similar to us as lenders and as real estate agents, a lot of what we do, 80% of what we do is done probably by most of the lenders out there. So that is something that clients obviously come to us for, is guidance. So obviously getting the mortgage, getting to the closing table. But then the other 20%, and this is where I felt like I was getting more personalized care in my health journey from the doctors, is it did matter who you worked with and how they worked and how they helped you and educated you and made you feel comfortable throughout the process. So I think that's the piece that we are constantly having to adjust. And, right now the big word is affordability. So we are constantly trying
Hmm.
to help clients take what they're hearing, take what they're seeing, and break it down. And a lot of that starts with, that's the systems that we use and the 80% of what we do, but the other 20% really customizing what we do for clients.
So break that down a little bit more, and let me ask it in a different way.
Mhm.
What are most loan officers doing in your field that you feel is wrong, and how do you approach it differently?
I think that's a really good question. I'm trying to think of how to answer. Because I'm not sure anybody's doing anything wrong. I'm just not sure they're doing, well, maybe this is the answer, that they're just not doing enough. I feel like so many people focus on interest rate, mortgage products, the basics. But if you're
Yeah.
not really taking that experience or that client, even looking at their financial picture to that higher level and really looking at what does this mean for people when they come to me for help? I don't want to be transactional. I want to be with them in a friendship, a long-term relationship where they see me as part of their core. So
Hmm.
go to a financial planner for their finances. They go to a CPA for their taxes. They go to a doctor for the doctor stuff. They have their core of who they go to for those things. And I want to be that
Hmm.
for the client. So I think that's the thing in our industry that maybe just doesn't go far enough. And
Hmm.
doing that in a way that gives people clarity and comfort when they come to us for something so big like buying a home and taking on a new mortgage. So if
Yeah.
anybody's doing anything wrong, they just might not be doing enough.
Yeah, and I probably said the wrong word there, and I agree with you 100%. It kind of remind like you said, a doctor. I like that analogy because
Mhm.
the doctors, they have their protocol, they have their script, they go that, they ask the questions, but there's a
Yeah.
difference between doctors who just do the basics and there's doctors that actually get to know you and ask you questions and get to know you on a personal level, and you don't feel like a number, and they actually care, right?
Absolutely.
Imagine that. You actually end up asking enough questions that, oh wow, this person actually cares. And I'm trying
Yes.
to think, I'm gonna butcher this quote, but I'm gonna try and say it anyways. Like, people don't care how much you know until they know how much you care.
Right. Yeah. When they walk away from anything that they do, especially in real estate, you want them to be able to look back and say, I had a great team and that wasn't as bad as I thought it was going to be. Or if they talk to a colleague and say, oh gosh, good luck with that. That's going to be a challenge or whatever. I want them to be able to say, actually, it was quite easy. And I knew what was going on
Yeah.
at all times. And that's where, back to your systems comment, is if we are informing, it's all about communication, right? I mean, then in everything, showing that you care, but also just taking the time to really communicate with clients and give them updates throughout the process. Answer
Hmm.
questions even in advance of when they ask them, because they come in and they don't even know what questions to ask. So if we can get ahead of that, and that's where I've tweaked what I do over my 27 years to say, what are clients coming in with and how can I help that? But really
Hmm.
showing them in that process and doing it in a friendly way. Like, we're going to be friends at the end of this. That's
Yeah.
not just, obviously I could say it's a goal, but it just happens. So
Yeah.
I want people to feel comfortable with me. After I get people pre-approved, I do an initial call that lasts about an hour. I block out an hour and a half of my time to say, let's schedule this hour-long call, but then I'll even leave extra after. If they have questions, I will stay on that call as long as they need, but I want to provide them so much clarity. I feel like
Hmm.
buyers and people in general, when they don't understand something, is when it causes anxiety. So if I can
Hmm.
create, excuse me, create that clarity for them in that process, then that's my goal. And that's, I think, shows that you care, right? Back to your
Yeah.
comment about showing that and giving them that,
Absolutely.
yeah, that they can call me for anything. Literally, it doesn't even have
Yeah. I think I'm just gonna throw it out there. I think anybody they call with an 800 number in a
to.
call center is
Mhm.
probably not gonna have that same level of
Nope.
dedication that you just described.
Yeah. Yep. Well, and I'm
I'm just
not
I'm
even licensed in other states at this moment. I choose not to be. I really focus on my community and on Colorado. So
Yeah,
they're going to get local top notch service, and I am here and available. And speaking to that.
absolutely. So talk to me about some changes happening in the mortgage industry and the housing industry that are making things harder or easier. What's happening?
I mean, we kind of mentioned this earlier too, that, you got to do the basics. You got to do that kind of thing, but you have to adjust with whatever the market's doing. So I think
Hmm.
clients come to us now, they're a lot more educated. So they've done their own research. They come to me with, hey, I heard about this and I heard about that. And so we have to be ready to speak to all of it. And we have to be prepared to handle different types of situations. People come to us with different incomes, different assets, different things that and I tell clients this, that I see every client that comes to me, like, they're giving me all these different puzzle pieces, and it's up to
Hmm.
me to fit those together. So
Yeah,
a piece of that puzzle could be things that are not even in theirs or my control, which is interest rates. It's the market, it's inventory. How many homes are there out there? I have to adjust my strategy in talking to them and helping them negotiate, working with their realtor to say, okay, here are the market pieces. Here's what we have right now. And if you want to go and buy a home, here's how they need to fit together. And here are some ways that we can fit them together to make it not only optimal for you, but helps you get the home and get your offer accepted, and then gets you to the closing table and works for you 5 years down the road, 10 years down the road. So I think the changes that are happening too are the good things, are technology. Back in the day when I first started in the business, I was driving paper files to my processor for her to work on. I was going
oh
physically.
my gosh,
Yeah.
right?
We were doing things over fax, and I was personally going into banks to get bank statements for clients. Like, that used to be something we did or had to do or could do, but now everything's electronic. So it's helped speed along the process, where it's good for clients because during the process, they have anxiety. They're waiting for us to say that your loan is approved. I mean, that's it's music to all of our ears when we say we're clear to close. So that's
Yeah.
want to get to, and then we want to prepare for closing after that. But so Technology is improving all the time, which is fantastic. What that does is it just helps us to be more efficient. And then, of course, there's AI. AI is coming into it. I know a lot of realtors are using AI now to help with property descriptions and different things that they're doing out there, which is great. I think if it provides more light to what we're doing, then I'm all for it. I haven't used a ton of it myself, but I'm definitely not opposed to it. So I know that's coming into it more. After closing, I send clients a monthly report, and it's pulling from AI sources to say, what is the value of your home? Does it make sense to refi? All of that. And then there's follow up to some of that too, that is now becoming AI generated, whether it's a follow up phone call from an AI system. And I told a client just the other day, I said, because she had called me, she said, "Oh, your system called, the AI system." And she said, "I thought I'd call you back." And she just called me out of the blue. She's like, "The system called. She didn't answer. It left a voicemail. She called me back." And I said, "Well, that's awesome. Because as you can imagine, I can't call thousands and thousands of previous clients all at the same time. I physically, humanly can't do that."
Right.
So
Right.
if we can use systems that help keep clients in the loop, and it's still managed by me and by us, so that it's not just bombarding them with
Yes.
useless information. It's very specific.
Hmm.
And so I think that's an amazing new transition that we've even just seen in the last year that can be very specialized and focused on that client and their specific information to get them to say, "Hey, it might make sense and you might save money. Call Tenby." And they do.
Yeah,
And then
absolutely.
numbers and really, but I don't have, even just because the system triggers it doesn't always mean it makes sense. So
Right.
I'll tell them, let me work on it. Let me get back to you and really make sure this is a make sense thing for you. And if not, I will tell you why. So
Yes, absolutely. You're speaking my language, and
yep.
you're helping me sell everything I already do, which is great. I love it. I mean, I believe high tech, high touch. I think many people are using AI completely wrong these days, and it needs to be a benefit for the person you're using it for.
Yes.
Like you said, you can't reach out to that many people. It's impossible and on a consistent basis. But if you use AI correctly, just to inform people to get them to raise their hand, then you step in and
Yep.
now you have the human touch.
Yep.
That is where it's most powerful.
Yes. Yeah. And we all like
I
to
love
not
it.
talk about the algorithms with social media, but I am a social media guilty of looking at the Instagram feed, and then it targets things you like, and it's like, okay, well, I can use
Absolutely.
this to engage.
And I got to be honest with I got to be honest with you. I'm not upset about that. Like if you're
Yeah,
tracking
me
what I
neither.
like and you're going to show me more things what I
Yeah,
like
I like
I
it.
don't know. I don't think that's a bad thing. I know people like get freaked out about that, but I'm like
Yeah.
if you're going to show me stuff I like. Don't show me a bunch of stuff I don't like. That'd be
Right. I
annoying.
don't have to hit add to cart. I choose to. That's on me. Yeah.
Right, right. Well, going back to the mortgage industry, I would love your perspective on this. If you could wave your magic wand on one major problem in the industry that would help your clients out, what would that be? I know you're going to say lower interest rates, but let's
I
let's go.
know.
Let's
And
let's
yeah,
let's do it. Let's pick a different one.
well, even that, I mean, yeah, the perception of low it's relative, right? I mean, we're at a
Right.
range,
Yes.
and 6% is it's the average of what rates have done over the last 60 years. So we're not in a bad place on rates.
Right.
But home values obviously being high is challenging. Yeah, I think again it boils back to my original comment about just really looking at things in the big picture. Because I was in the industry prior to 2008 when the Great Recession happened, and there were products out there that if you could breathe, you could get a mortgage. And that has largely gone away. It protects the client, but it protects the banks, but it also protects the client. And so I think really making sure, and again, this comes back to the really caring and really listening to people to say, this is hard right now. It's because property values are high. I get it. I mean, it's, incomes have not kept up with property values. So that means that we have to do more diligence in really looking at, does this really make sense for that person right now? And does it make sense, even if they're a current homeowner, to go from a 2% rate if they want to move into a 6% rate? And how can we maybe help them, take a look at that in the grand scheme of things?
Hmm.
All of, I think that's the biggest challenge, if I'm answering your question, is to
Yeah.
just look at the big picture. I think that's what we have
I
to.
just want your you've been in this business for so long. I just want your perspective on, what if you had a chance, like what's the thing you would change to make this industry, make homeownership easier?
I guess you would say a little bit that it boils down to education. I think if clients come in with a clarity, the trouble is we would almost have to rewind the clock to we're just not taught a lot of this stuff. We become adults and obviously we have to then automatically know how to keep a good credit score and how to save. And yeah, it starts way back. So I don't know if
Yeah.
there's no quick fix, unfortunately, but that's where we can come in and say, let's look at everything. And now it's my job to see where they're coming from. How much do they know? They may have done their own research online, but that sometimes makes it more confusing for them. So we have to reel that in a little bit and then really provide clarity. And obviously it's people understand things more when it's personalized to them, I feel.
Hmm.
Uh,
Hmm.
I'll do action plans for people. If it either doesn't make sense for them right now, or their credit's not quite there, or they don't quite have the employment history, whatever it may be, we will create an action plan. And then again, this is where systems come in to help me follow up with those people to see if they're following that plan. Obviously, hopefully they do. If their goal is home ownership, hopefully they're going to follow the advice that I give. But yeah, I think it really kind of goes back. I'm actually going in to talk to a high school in March, which I'm so excited about. So I get to go talk to these kids about not only what I do, but here are some things to think about now and start that. Clearly, we all say with real estate that you should have bought the home yesterday. When's the best time to buy a home? Yesterday.
Right.
So that's something where if people can get in the game sooner, it will help them build huge wealth over the course of their life.
Yeah.
I mean, most people's wealth is in their home. So if we can help them with an action plan, even if they're not ready right now, but to do it as soon as they can, then that is going
Hmm.
to help them.
Yeah. I really love and appreciate your hands-on approach and how diligent you are and the systems you use. And I say systems just because it helps you, like you said, it helps you stay organized and it helps you educate everybody along the way. So I
Yeah.
think there's nothing wrong with having a system, but it's within the system that I feel like you really make people feel special and not a number, and that you actually care and you want what's in their best interest.
Yeah. Absolutely. I've got 2 daughters and they're both of age. They're in college. They're not far off from having to start to think about and a lot of this stuff. So I'm trying to, they'll hear what they want to hear at this age, right? But I'm trying to
Right.
trickle little bits of information. Yeah, I mean my daughter, obviously we got her a credit card and she just got a notice in the mail a few days ago that said your um limit has been raised because she's doing a good job. She's
Oh,
paying her bill on time and she's not going beyond her means and, she's doing a good job with it. So, yeah, so I do care. And it's like I see everybody as my friend or
yeah.
somebody that I want to see succeed.
So tell me about your journey. You've been in this business where you said 27 years. I think that was right.
Yes.
How did you first get started in mortgages?
So I graduated from undergrad with health and sports science degree. I was a student athlete. I was a gymnast at the University of Oklahoma and graduated and thought, okay, I think I got this degree, but I really don't think I want to do this. So went and got my master's, just a general MBA. But then they teach you how to run companies, which is fine. Here I am owning my own company now, which is great. But so it's funny how it all comes back around maybe and helps a little bit. But with that, then I went to a job fair and I had met somebody in the mortgage industry that piqued my interest. And I thought, oh, that's interesting. I've always loved math. I love working with people. So that seems like a combination of both of those things. And went to a career fair and they were hiring. And so I worked for a call center. So picture me with a little thing at 24, whatever age I was, taking calls from all over the country. And that was my start and how I learned the basics. And then once
Hmm.
it had moved beyond that, just a year later, I jumped in with both feet, 100% commission right into the business and had to go out and earn the business, prove myself, meet with clients, meet with financial planners, CPAs, realtors. So I really had to build it and built it from the ground up. And here I am years later, having helped thousands and thousands of people with mortgages. So I still
Yeah.
to this day, I work from home. It's something where I've never really tracked the number of hours in a week that I work, but I'm committed to it and I will, if a client texts me at 10 o'clock at night, you're going to get a reply probably just because that's who I am. But
Yeah.
um, But yeah, no, I love it.
Well, where did you learn this work ethic? Where did you learn how to do this? Was there a one lesson that you learned from a mentor, or like where did it come from?
Honestly, I have to say I've probably always been that way. I have, two parents that always worked, and I always really respected that. I know it's, something where that's just different for everybody, but I really admired them in that regard. And I think being a gymnast, I had that as a second thing that I knew that I had to work hard to. I was tall for a gymnast. So I had to work harder sometimes than others to, you know, get things to work.
Yeah.
And I would, I don't know, and maybe I have a little bit of competitiveness in me, and that to say, if I see somebody do something, I'm like, I can do that. And why not me? So it's hard for me to take on any task and not do well in that.
Mhm.
And a lot of it's just self-pride. I like just feeling like I can leave something, either, the great, what's the analogy, like leave something better than you found it. I always
Oh,
want
yeah.
Yeah, I want to leave people smiling. I want to, even just walking down the street, I'm going to smile at people. I want to leave things out there and better, and that's just, yeah, it's just what I do.
I mean, I was gonna ask you what keeps you excited and motivated every day, but I think you just answered it.
Yeah, honestly, it is helping people. Yeah, so I know it sounds
I love it.
so cliche, but yeah, I do love what I do.
Hey, that's okay. Next, I mean, you kinda led me into the thing I was thinking about next is I'd love to hear one, like, success story of a client that you're especially proud of.
This is when I didn't think about this in advance, so I'm off the cuff here, but
Yeah.
I think, and I don't know if I can think of an example specifically, but first time home buyers, when they come to me and they are, they've been renting, or there's a reason why it's a why now they're buying. So I like to really understand that. But then just seeing, I always ask the question at the end of my initial call with them after I've worked up their numbers, and then we go through it in detail together. I always ask at the end of the call, not only because I want to make sure that they're good, but I say, was this helpful? And that is the answer above anything else that makes my day, is to hear them say, my gosh, this was so helpful. This was so amazing. So that, I'll take that any day over a paycheck. Like, that to me is what it's all about. So that's a very generic,
No,
specific
well,
example.
no, no, I like it, but I'm gonna say, like, that's why you get paid. Like, you're not doing it for the paycheck. I always have this, ism that I always say. I've always said for so long that numbers and money follow, they do not lead.
Yeah.
When you lead with the right things, all those other things will follow. They'll take care of themselves.
Yeah. Yep. No, you're exactly right. And, I know that I'm good at what I do. I know that I'm going to provide that value. I know that I'm going to do that above and beyond stuff. I'm going to do that extra 20% beyond what the 80% does. So
Yeah,
I know I can walk away from a transaction and know that I left things better, and I left it
yeah.
in an amazing space. Then when the paycheck comes, it comes, and whatever. But yeah, that's
Absolutely. So then I want to kind of finish up with a few last questions here. And you've given so much great advice. But I would love to know, like, what's the best piece of business advice you have ever received?
I don't know.
And I know I'm putting you on the spot, and I'm doing it for a reason
I know.
because especially you, like, you've had a lot of great business experience and advice. And I just kind of want to know what the first one that comes to mind is.
Yeah, I guess I'd have to say it's just really kind of as a reiteration of what I just said, but it's adding value. If you're not adding value to somebody in their world, whether it's the real estate agents that I work with, the financial planners that I work with, that's where I have to have them see that working with me is different. So I of course, I've done all kinds of trainings and talks and things over the years, that I've picked bits and pieces of nuggets that I felt resonated with me. And so I've created my world and how I do things that works for me. I'm not going to pretend to be somebody I'm not. I'm not going to do something just because somebody else did it. I'm going to take the pieces that work for me to feel good about how I do things in my business. But that's the piece, that adding value back in such a way. I mean, everything we do, I'm 100% referral based. I don't do any public marketing. So I really have to earn that business every single time. And if they don't walk away from a conversation with me and have some sort of value from that conversation, then I'm not doing the right thing, not doing my job.
Hmm.
So that was a
Yeah,
good piece of advice that I got pretty early on.
that's awesome. And completely gold. So here's another difficult question. You ready? If you could travel back in time right now and talk to your 15-year-old self, what would you tell her?
I would say don't do it for anybody else. Do it for yourself. And then everything else will come into play. Don't pretend to be anything that you're not. Be yourself and that will be enough.
Love it. That's awesome. And then lastly, please tell everybody where they can find you, where they can get in touch with you.
You bet. So I would love anybody can follow me on social media. You can go to Instagram. It's colorado.mortgage.planner. But you can follow me there. Obviously, my website, coloradomortgageplanner.com, or my company is Peak 10 Mortgage. So you can go to peak, the number 10, mortgage.com. And then you can call me or text.
That's awesome. And we will have all those details down in the show notes below. So no need to rewind, no need to grab a pen and scribble. Just click the more information details down below and they'll all be there. So Tenby, thank you so much for joining us today.
Absolutely. Thank you for having me.